Hey guys, today we're going to be working on your first Unity game, so let's jump right into it. Now to get started, make sure you download Unity Hub. The link will be in the description. Once you install Unity Hub, the interface should look like this. Now go ahead and click Installs and install a new Unity editor if you don't have one. Now I already have Unity 6.4 installed. Go ahead and click on Projects and create a new project. Once your project is created, this is what the interface should look like. On the left side in the hierarchy, this is where everything you have in the scene is stored, such as your main camera, the directional light, and the global volume. The scene is pretty self-explanatory. The game is what your camera sees, and once you actually start playing your game, you'll be directed into this window. In the inspector window, you can see all the properties of a selected object, such as the main camera or anything. Project, this is where all your assets are. Console, this is good for debugging errors. Animation, this is where you create all your animation, but we don't need this for this project. I'm gonna start off with a ground. I'm gonna create a ground. You can use a plane or a cube, it's up to you. I'm gonna use a cube. I'm gonna name it ground. And now in the inspector window, I'm gonna reset its position and rotation and scale. So if you click these three dots and click reset, everything's 0, 0, 0. I'm gonna make this thin, something like that is fine, and scale it up. Let's do a 20 by 20. Let's add borders. So again, I'm gonna create a cube and reset and bring it right here. Scale it along the x-axis. Now I'm gonna parent this cube to the ground. Now when we move the ground, that border is gonna move along with it. I'm gonna duplicate this border. Let's actually rename this first. And now I'm gonna duplicate it, bring it to the right. Now let's duplicate it again, Z0, so it's in the center. And now let's rotate it on the y-axis. And we can put -90 or 90. Let's duplicate this one more time. It should be fine. So change your X scale to 1, should be perfectly aligned. So in the project window, I'm gonna right click and create a folder. Materials. I'm gonna create a material black and make it black. Make the smoothness 0. There's no reflections. Let's apply this to all the borders. I'm gonna create one more. Let's duplicate this and I'm gonna name it gray. Actually dark gray. Apply it to the ground. You know what? Let's call it dark blue or navy. This looks much better. Now once your scene is ready, let's start working on our player. Create a player and create a cube, call it player, sorry. And let's reset. You can press F to zoom on it, to focus. Bring it up. Now this is slightly too big, so I'm gonna scale it down by, let's say 0.6. 0.6. And this looks much better. Let's duplicate this. Green. Let's make our character green. It's too bright. I should be fine. Now if you pay attention in the inspector window, these things are called components. And basically our objects are created of these components. Mesh. This is the actual mesh of our cube. So if I change this to capsule, it turns into a capsule cube. And then we have a mesh renderer. This helps the mesh render. So if you disable this, it's not gonna render. Collider. And finally, we have our material. Material is pretty self-explanatory. We're gonna add one more component, rigid body. Now rigid body, it puts the game object under the physics engine. So if you have rigid body, it's gonna add gravity, the mass, and this also helps moving the object using a script. Under constraints, let's freeze all our rotations because we don't want our cubes rotating like that or like that. So let's freeze on X and Z. Y is fine. Let's create a script for our player script, and create an add. Now this is gonna ask you where you want to save your script. So we're actually gonna create a new folder. You can probably already guess what we're gonna name it, scripts, and save our player script to the scripts folder. And now Unity will create our script. Once your script is ready, it's going to be added to the scripts folder, and it's also going to be added to your components. So scripts are one of the components in your object. Let's open it up. Our start function runs when the game starts. Our update function runs every frame. Before we get into the functions, let's add some variables. Let's start by adding a movement speed. This will help determine how fast our character moves. Let's put it as 5 by default. Reference to the rigid body. Again, public rigid body, and we're gonna call it rigid body. And once you save this will add a rigid body option, and now we can just drag the rigid body into this rigid body. You don't actually need the start functions. I'm gonna create two variables. Move x equals input get axis. So once you press A or D, this variable changes. And when you press W or S, this variable changes. Add our movement variable. Well, let's actually change the move Y to move Z, because we're moving on the Z axis, not on the Y. Y is up and down, and we want our Y to be 0, stay flat. Now let's tell our rigid body to move our character. And this should be all our movement script. Let's go back to Unity. Make sure you save it. Move our camera. Okay, if you get this error, then this means you're using the new input system, and in our script we're referencing to the old input system. So to change that, let's go to project settings, player, and change the active input handling to both. Now we're able to move around, and you can always just increase your speed if you want to. Let's put it as 15. It's much faster. Now let's parent our camera to the player, and now the camera will move along with the player. We'll make this smoother later on. In our player script, let's add a function for dying. For now, we're just gonna add a debug. Now your player is ready. Let's start working on the enemy. Duplicate the player, call it enemy. We're gonna delete the camera, remove the rigid body and the player script. We're gonna make two enemies. One enemy is gonna be able to follow the player, and the other one is just a static enemy. So it's just gonna be standing there. If our player collides with this enemy, that function we created, the dead, this will run. You can change this to something fancy later on, like adding a UI. So let's create a new material for our enemy. Duplicate this, call it red, apply, change this to red. There you go. Let's add a script. Once your script is ready, I want you to delete everything. So since we have our box collider, we can add this function. On collision, enter. Let's change the collision to other because it sounds cool. And now we need a way to figure out if this other is the player, because right now if you run the game, that other is the ground because it touches the ground, and we don't want our player to die if we don't have a check. So the much easier way to do this is to take advantage of the tags. So we can add a new tag and call it player. So it already exists. Okay, fair enough. Let's apply our tag to the player. Let's reference to the player script so we can run this function. And now we can say player script.player die. And now let's drag the player into the player script. Let's play the game. Now let's collide with the enemy. Wow, we died. Okay, let's fix this rotation with our player. It doesn't look really good. So I kind of just rewrote partially the entire script to change the way we move. So now the way the script works is that if we press A or D, instead of moving towards that direction, it's gonna rotate that way. And then W and S is actually removing. So change your move Y to rotate Y. Replace these two. You don't really need to know how this works. Just do it. We're just making a game and learning a little bit, but you don't need to know like quaternion and stuff right now. It's a bit complicated. So just focus on the basics. Change the rotation speed to 20 and our movement speed to 8. Let's make it a little bit faster. Bring this down to 5 again. You guys probably notice how every time we play the game, it adds like a loading screen. So to disable that, player settings, editor, and then scroll down and play mode and settings, change to do not reload.